Hello and welcome back. My name is Alden Taylor and I'm going to show you today a little bit about how you can use Talos to automate your DataPower configuration management and deployments. So in this demo, I'm going to manage a couple of DataPower domains. I've got a few domains set up here on a device, and in one of those domains, ATS Workshop 00, I've got a multi-protocol gateway and a front-side protocol, HTTP front-side handler. And I'm going to show you how I can use Talos to move that configuration into another domain. And in this case, I'm just going to replicate it into one of these other ATS Workshop domains. But the pattern that I'm going to show you and the process that I'm going to follow would apply regardless of whether or not you're moving configuration between domains on the same device or between domains on different devices. So let's get started. To begin, I'm going to open up the Talos web interface, and I'm going to start managing some existing middleware. In this case, I want to manage this DataPower device, and I'm actually going to do that by reading in an existing device. Now, when I click on existing here, I can discover existing middleware. This could be used to read in a WebSphere cell. Perhaps you need to use Talos to manage WebSphere, and with the toolkit for DataPower, you can also read in a DataPower device. So I'm going to put this device into my dev environment, and that's just a way for me to sort of organize where it's located and make it easier for me to kind of keep track of later. And I'm going to give it a name here of Automation Workshop 00. And really I'm naming it by the same name as the domain so that it'd be easier for me to track that that's what I'm managing here. So I can import the DataPower device. I need to put in the username and the password that I use to connect to DataPower. And then I need to put in the host name and the DataPower management port. My port is using the default value of 5550, so I'll just enter that in here. When I click Save, Talos is going to run out and connect to that DataPower server and discover the domains that are on that server. And when I'm done, it's going to show me what that topology looks like. So here I've got my Automation Workshop 00 middleware environment, middleware instance, and it's mapped under my dev environment. And it consists of a bunch of domains, a whole slew of domains here. Now, I want to be able to manage the domains individually, independently of each other. It'll just make it easier for me to move configuration between domains if I do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these other domains from my representation of this device. And I don't have to do this. This is just something that I'm choosing because it makes managing these individual domains easier and more straightforward. So I'm going to delete all the domains except for ATS Workshop 00. So I'm left with just the one domain. And now I want to show you how you can create a template from the configuration in this domain that we will then use to apply to the other domains that we want to manage. Before I can create a template, though, I have to read in the configuration from this source domain. So I'll do that by clicking on Read Configuration. And in the background, Talos is making another HTTP client connection out to DataPower, and it's asking for all of the classes and all the objects on the domains that are managed under this middleware instance. Now, since we only have one domain defined in the Talos middleware instance here, it'll only read in that one set of configuration. So now I'm going to create a template from the configuration that I just read in. And I do that by clicking New, and then when I drill in here, you can see that I've got all of the configuration mapped to this domain. I've got access to the local files. In this case, it's an example WSDL file. and I can drill in on that WSDL, and I can see what values are inside. If I needed to manage this local file, I could include it in my template by selecting it, or the file instance itself. And I can also then define variables that I might want to have different each time I push this file into different domains. So I could take this example WSDL file, I could change some of the underlying properties in that file, and then each time I apply this file to another domain, I can define different environment-specific values for each of these variables that I set, and I can manage that file in that way. For this, I'm not going to mess around with this WSDL file. I'm actually going to drill into the export down into the configuration of the DataPower domain. And you can see I've got everything here, most of the default elements that exist on any one of these domains, but also this vscan front-side handler, which I showed you a moment ago. This vscan front-side handler is part of my multi-protocol gateway called vscan. So I want to select that because I want to include that in my source configuration. And then I also want to grab this multi-protocol gateway here and this policy attachments. Now, if I wanted to know what I needed to manage, and sometimes it's a little bit hard with DataPower, you've got a lot of different configurations. I could also filter up here. I know that vscan is included in the names of all of the elements that are part of my multi-protocol gateway. So I can filter on vscan and I can see these three: the multi-protocol gateway, the policy attachments, and the HTTP source protocol handler. Now, one of the things that you'll notice about this, about protocol handlers, is that the local port needs to be unique in order for the in order for the protocol handler to exist on another domain in the same device. So if I was just to grab this configuration, keep it exactly as it is, and push it into another domain, it would fail to start because it would have a conflict on that local port. So one of the things that I need to keep unique across all the different instances of this template are going to be the local port value. So I'll go ahead and create a variable in order to be able to tokenize that and manage different values for that variable across different domains. Now you can see when I create a variable, I get an indicator here indicating that it is tokenized, and that defaults the name of the variable to the name of the attribute that's being tokenized on, value. Well, that's not very helpful for me, so I'm going to go ahead and rename that. I'm going to call it my vscan front side handler local port. And this way, when I see the variable again, I'll be able to recognize it and know what it stands for. Now I could drill in and I can pick and choose other elements in this configuration that I want to have environment-specific values set on. I could have different admin states, whatever. You can drill in and set properties on any one of these things. But in this case, this local port is the one that I want to use. So I need to give this template a name, and I'm going to call it ATS Workshop vscan. And then click Save. Now, what I've done then is I've created a template that, that contains just those elements that I selected from my ATS Workshop 00 domain. If I want to, I could apply that template right back onto the same domain and look at what it looks like. If I do, I can see that it's going to be the ATS Workshop 00, all objects. Here's my export. There's my local WSDL file that I selected when I created the template. And then here's the elements of the configuration that I selected. Just the three elements that are related to my vscan. So I could also see that the local port here is going to still have the value of 80. And that's because I'm looking at a middleware instance specific version of a template. So I'm looking at the template as it relates to this this domain. Let's see. So I'm actually going to come back in and remove that other file. I actually don't want to push this WSDL file into all my other domains, so I'll just deselect that. And now I want to look at this template and actually apply it to um, other domains. So I could, of course, add more domains, as you saw earlier, by reading in existing DataPower domains and repeating the same process. But I've already done that for Automation Workshop here. So I'm gonna apply this new template into Automation Workshop. I can do that from the middleware perspective by clicking on Automation Workshop and choosing to add my ATS Workshop vScan template. So I can view it from this perspective. And I can also see the variable values that were defined earlier when I defined the template. You'll recall that I set a port, and in Automation Workshop 00, the value for that was 80, but in Automation Workshop, I'm going to make this 20,300. So now when I apply this template into Automation Workshop domain, I'll have a different value for that port. I can also look at the template, I'm sorry, this data from a template perspective. I can see which middleware instances have this template defined on it. So I could see that where this vScan multi-protocol gateway is available is in my Automation Workshop domain and my Automation Workshop 00 domain. I could add additional domains to this template and then apply that template with a different protocol, with a different port into a different domain. In this case, my XI52 dest domain is matched to my UCD target here. So to back up just a little bit, the ATS Workshop vScan is now assigned to 3 domains, and I can set different values for each of those domains for this port, for this local port. And I can also see at a glance which domains have the ATS Workshop vScan configuration defined on it. Now, I want to actually push this, this change into my target domain now. So I've read it in from Automation Workshop 00, and now I want to push it into Automation Workshop. So I can look at what that payload would look like before I actually apply it onto the DataPower domain by clicking the Apply button here, and then I can view what that's going to look like. So this is a way for me to validate what's going on to the device before I actually push it to the device directly. So you can see I've got these 3 objects again, and I just want to point out the local port here has the value that is defined for this Automation Workshop. For this Automation Workshop domain. Now, before I go any further, let me just show you what's in Automation Workshop. Here's ATS Automation Workshop in the DataPower interface. And if we click on multi-protocol gateways, we do not have one defined. And of course, the front side handler is not going to be defined either. So, so let's see. So I'm going to apply this configuration. Again, I've applied it here. I've created an instance of the template with environment-specific values filled out. That was this port that we set. I can view what that looks like to see what's going to get applied when I push the button to apply it. So I can check my work. I can make sure that I've got what I want. And then I can apply it. Now, I don't actually apply it from this interface because I want to make sure that when I'm managing configuration, I'm doing it in, I'm making sure to maintain control over these environments. I want to make sure that I've got the right security. I want to make sure that I've got the right history and compliance. So I would use an orchestration engine to kick this next step off. And that orchestration engine is probably going to orchestrate a much larger deployment, perhaps deploying some things using Talos into WebSphere, perhaps also deploying some this Automation Workshop vScan object into DataPower. But my orchestration engine may also call out to other orchestration plans to to configure other elements in my larger environment, right? I've got a larger architecture that I'm having to work within. And so I want that orchestration engine to orchestrate the big picture and to manage who has access to do that and to manage and be able to show history and audit trail. Now we can plug in to any orchestration engine that you guys already use, or we can recommend an orchestration engine for you. But for this demo, I'm going to show what would happen if an orchestration engine were to call back to Talos to apply this, this object into this automation workshop domain. So your orchestration engine can invoke our command line as one way to invoke Talos to deploy templates. So without further ado here, this is the Talos command line interface, and some of the things here is we're going to call out and run activity. We're going to run it in the mode of write, meaning that we're writing to the target middleware, and we're managing something in our dev environment, and then our middleware itself is called ATS Automation Workshop. Let me just double check that. Automation Workshop. So our middleware is Automation Workshop. The toolkit that we're using to do this work is our DataPower toolkit. We're going to run the activity all classes, all objects, meaning that whatever is in our payload, we're going to push out into DataPower. And then the domain that we're targeting is ATS Automation Workshop. And if we wanted to check the name of that domain, we could click on the middleware instance and see it here. ATS Automation Workshop is the domain that we're targeting. And then the payload is the instance of the template that I want to push. That's going to be ATS Workshop vScan. So basically the template name. And what we're telling Talos to do here is take the payload, take this this instance of the template that has the environment-specific values applied into it, and push it into DataPower. So the payload is that ATS Workshop vScan. Okay, so we've pushed this out and we've created the policy attachments and we've created the vScan front-side handler and we've created the multi-protocol gateway. And then we saved the settings. That's the second call here, is a call out to save the changes that we've made in DataPower. So if we log back in out here to DataPower, and we refresh this page, we should see now that we've got a multi-protocol gateway defined on this domain called vScan, and its op state is up, and it has a front-side handler, HTTP handler, with the port that we've defined in our template. So that's this vScan front-side handler here. And if we look at that front-side handler, oops. We should see the local port number that is in use is 20,300. And that is the value that we have tokenized as being environment specific. So I could then repeat that same process to apply this, this configuration that's defined in this Automation Workshop vScan template over into my XI52 dest domain. I could add additional domains and push it into those domains. And each time I do, I would give a different value for this variable, so I can have that port unique. Now, some watchers will observe that what we're doing here is basically mimicking what can be done with a deployment policy. And of course, that's exactly it, right? I mean, we're doing basically the same thing. If you use deployment policies and you'd rather keep using deployment policies, Talos can support you in that as well. This just provides a very consistent way of managing these environment-specific differences, and an easy way with just a few clicks in a web interface to define what those deployment policies would look like. And if there's any limitations that you're hitting with deployment policies, we may be able to handle those in a slightly easier way using Talos templates. So thanks for watching. I appreciate your time, and please do reach out to me. I'm Alden Taylor. You can reach me at alden.taylor@avnet.com. If you have any questions about Talos and have any interest in automating your DataPower deployments, feel free to reach out. And if you have any questions relating to the video, don't hesitate to post them in comments below. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of your day.